This is my regular plea that you'll see on a regular basis. Subscribe to the Ash&Ether channel. Help grow that channel. Help bring it up so that I can have a wonderful place to house all the spiritual, occult, and woo-woo stuff. And then on this channel, I'll get to be able to do some fun things. Like I just reviewed some ice cream, vegan ice cream. And so you actually get to see me try these out. I've criticized vegan ice cream in the past as being disgusting, and so you'll actually see me try out the different brands and figure out if there's actually one worthwhile. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff coming up as well. On the Ash&Ether channel right now is the meditation video. Wait, not the meditation one. What was it that we did here? There's a bad magic one, is in invisibility. There's going to be a meditation video that comes out on Friday. So that one's all set and ready to go. So if you want to chant Om, please come visit me and share that video. So I want to do more things like that on the Ash&Ether channel. And then, of course, we also want to do things that make you laugh. And I will say this, if you saw the video on Friday for Ash&Ether, a bad magic video, I want you all to know bad magic videos are intended to be a fun way to embrace and approach magic, but in no way is it meant to be anything other than that. It's meant to be fun. It's my way of just having a grand old time. And I know, this is what I heard, is that if you do like to partake, you know, in the ganja, in the green, the chiba, the devil's lettuce, if you will, if you do enjoy to partake, that particular video that was done for bad magic for the invisibility spell will please your senses. That's all I can really say. So if that's something that you like to do, you know, go watch that video and then you tell me about it. Watch it in both ways, right? It needs as many views as possible. So, you know, feel the lightness and the euphoria and then watch that video and then be another way and just let me know. How do you feel? All right. Anyway, I want to see if I can bring as much joy into the world as possible in all the different ways I know how. So that's my goal if you don't know. All right, today, of course, we are talking about Auset, and we're talking about Isis, Auset or Isis, and having a fun dive there. And, of course, it's Mother's Day. And so, of course, some people feel it's a commercial holiday, and it definitely is, but it's always a nice time to recognize your mother and mothers and your mother's mothers. And so, but we do know that there's also women who are going through a lot of different complicated feelings right now when it comes to motherhood. I know I have a friend who lost their child. I know I have people who have a whole bunch of kids. I know I have a variety of mothers and what motherhood looks like in my world. So I want to acknowledge all those women now because we do know that motherhood looks different for so many people. I am a mother of plants, so that's my thing. Okay, I do help plants live and I take care of them. And then, of course, some people take care of they take care of people in general. For a long time, I also was a caregiver. And one thing that was nice is that they did recognize sometimes they give us a little gift on Mother's Day because you are caring for another life and loving them and nurturing them and all those things that go involved in it. So shout out to all those nurturing mothers and people who are out there who have lost their mothers and so on and so forth. I just want to say Happy Mother's Day. With that being said, this is our icebreaker for the day. Who is the most amazing mother figure in your life that is not your biological mother? So who is one of the most amazing mother figures in your life that is not your biological mother? Yes, that's the icebreaker. I want to acknowledge those women. I think for me, I'm just going to name one most mother-like figure in my life that's not my biological mother. It probably goes to my aunt. I have a lot of aunts, I do, but I would say the one that probably is the most nurturing, you know, I would say consistent and all those things is probably my aunt. One of my aunts, and well, she knows who she is. And so My aunt named after, not after a Disney character, but she shares that. Oh, thank you, Cypher. So who's the most important mother figure in your life other than your mother, your biological mother? So that could be an adopted mother. So you have 4 of them, but they're your aunts. Yeah. So for me, it's definitely one of my aunts. It's just one of those things where it's a different relationship, and then maybe you'll say it's the aunt relationship, but at the same time, it's more than that, because I feel like the same amount of knowledge, that feeling of nurturing, the same amount of you want them to be in your corner, all those feelings that you have when it comes to mothering. I've gotten that from them. So I've gotten that from her. So that is probably one of the most. I'm trying to think of anything else. Does anyone go beyond gender? I wonder if it goes beyond gender as far as a mother figure. I wonder. I'm trying to think. I'll say this, and it's weird, but I did have a professor who I think that definitely played a father-like role in my life, father figure-like role in my life. But there were times where he would give me something that you typically associate from a mother, whether it was a certain kind of advice, whether it was a certain kind of look. I can't explain it, but there were certain times where he would do things that I associated more with feminine energy or the women in my life. And that's just my own personal experience. So he had a very strong masculine presence in my life, definitely. But there was something about the way he would be in a more nurturing sense. And men, you have feminine energy within you. So it's not like you are void of it. So, of course, it's going to be natural for me to say this. But there were moments where he provided the mother kind of nurturing that I needed at the right time. You know, the stuff that you typically, I've been learning that you want from mom. There were times where he would definitely give that to me. I don't know how he knew to do it, but he just did it. So I just want to say that as well. I know that there's always this controversy of who you're supposed to acknowledge on these commercial days, but I'm just saying, you know, there's been times where I can say at least one man has played a slight motherly like role in my life as much as he played a father figure in my life. I don't know. I wasn't even expecting to say that, but I'm just letting you know. But I think it goes to the larger conversation because we're talking about Auset or Isis. So I think that's important. So let me go through what people are saying. So Larissa says, I don't really have a woman or woman I go to. Maybe my grandmothers before they passed. Yeah. I wasn't raised with my grandmother. So I had one grandmother, and I don't know if she played more of definitely the distant grandmother role, but not that. Other than making those good pots of food. But I mean, I guess what I think about the conversations, the advice, the shaping, the that molding, that shaping, when you think about what it means to be in a womb, if you will, and all the nutrients and all the stuff that's poured into you and constantly being poured into you, or what it's like. I wasn't breastfed, so I don't know what it's like to suckle on the teat, but something like that, that idea that you're constantly getting this stuff being poured into you, nutrients, wisdom, and to essentially help shape and mold you. So I think that, you know, for me, those are the people that I would definitely say that from. And I think, and maybe that's what it is, that particular professor would pour so much into me as far as wisdom and nurturing and the things that oftentimes historically women have done for the community and the family. He did that. And maybe that was because he was at a women's college, and so he knew that there was a different kind of responsibility that he had, and also probably a different approach that he needed to have. So Troy was thinking about Isis today. Well, you are right on time, because we decided to make this all about Isis or Auset. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of a history as much as I can, and just kind of spread some information and also connect it to the larger message of what the video's been about, or my work has been about over time as well. So let's get into this. So in honor of, and thank you all for sharing, by the way, for those of you guys who are sharing, and for those of you who did not answer in the chat, if you're watching this later, pause this video and tell me who is someone that was a mother figure in your life that's not your biological mother, and just give us a little story about that. We just want to know, because I love these kinds of stories. But yeah, definitely Professor. Kayla says there's been a lot of women who have occupied that role from time to time. Yeah, I mean, and then I have to admit, there were times where almost like my bus stop mothers, my I don't know what it is, but there was a long time where I just had this whole like Filipino women. They were like rolling deep for me. I mean, from everything, giving me food, helping me through all these different phases of my life. I used to be on the bus. There was an Indonesian woman who used to do it too. Big Asian. I don't know what it is. I attract a lot of women like people, you know, mother-like people. I remember being at a job. I mean, now when I think about it, I can like list a whole lot of names of these women who came into my life and literally helped me through, or just were there for me, looked out for me. When my mother physically could not be there, these women showed up, meaning from my daily work commute to my being actually in a workplace. There were women who would show up all the time. Even now, what am I talking about? Even now, in my other life, I have women like, mother-like women who come in and pour into me. So, man, I'm glad that we did that icebreaker. It kind of makes me very appreciative of all the mothers in my life. Really beautiful, nurturing women. So anyway, for those of you all, think about that. Who pours into you, nourishes you, who's been there, who can kind of see something might be off, and they'll give you that little word of wisdom, that that person who holds this beautiful vision for you and then pours that vision into you so that you feel strong and empowered and confident and safe, and all those wonderful things that feminine energy can do. And so when we think about ancient Egyptian or Kemetic culture, there is a deity, if you will, that represents that as well. And so that's where we talk about Auset or Isis. So Isis, of course, I think a lot of you know, is the Greek name for Auset. And so we will go I'll be interchangeable with the names as we go on. I'll probably stick more to Auset, but we know Isis and Auset are the same names, but I like to say Auset. And we'll say Auset for a really important reason here, to help us understand how this word actually breaks down. So we know that her male counterpart is often seen as Osiris, which is also known as Asar. So Asar and Auset. So et is meaning feminine, all right, and os meaning source, or the creative source, that source. So the feminine source, Asar, masculine source. Does that make sense to you? So that's why I think I prefer not to say Osiris or Auset, or Isis, because we can actually look at these words and really see the clear meaning of what they actually mean. So from here on out, we're going to go for Auset, all right? So Auset is, of course, an ancient Kemetic deity, but who is she? What is she? What does she represent? Most of you all know. I mean, if I'm doing a video on Mother's Day, it's definitely about motherhood in some way, shape, or form. The way we can think about it is as the great mother, the divine mother, the mother of gods, the mother of all creation. So ancient Kemetic, and Kemet, of course, is the other name for Egypt. We know Egypt, of course, is the Greek name. So we'll keep on going back to the original names for an important reason. Now, if you think about Kemet, and we talked about that et sound at the end of something denoting feminine, what does that tell you? Kemet. I forget what Kem means. I don't want to say Kem means melanin or black or darkness, but it might be. It means something like that if I'm on point. I can't remember, and I didn't do the research for that part, but you guys can put it all together, right? So we'll go for Kemet today instead of saying Egypt, and we're going to be saying Auset and Sar. So with that, this is a deity coming from ancient Kemet, and we have Auset, which is the representation of, what is it? What is it? It's a representation of what? feminine energy, divine feminine energy, what I've been talking about. There was a video that I did. Thank you, Kim equals black. Thank you so much. So black femme, so femme energy. So this is the land of this dark feminine energy. Now, Auset is also known as what? Mother Earth. The mother. Anytime you think about a mother, you think about energy. If you think about your existence, if you think about anything that has to deal with life and creation, Auset is the mother of that. The queen of the heavens, queen of the underworld. Her symbolism often is that she is the sun, and this is different from how we think of femininity and masculinity. She is the sun, and Auset is... and Asar is of the moon. So we have a kind of a switch there, right? So she is the sun, and we also know that she gives birth to Heru. And Heru is also known as Horus. So I'm going to be going back to the names that are more pronounced, how they're supposed to be pronounced to the best of my ability, because I don't speak Netter. But I will do my best, right, with the knowledge that I know or the pronunciations that I know. And Heru, we also know as Horus. And she's the first symbol of what a virgin birth. So meaning creating Horus without maleness around. And so she's the first example of the virgin birth, and you'll see the virgin birth over and over and over again. And that virgin birth is something that we see later when in the creation of Christianity, they use the same story with Mary. Now I'm going to just say this really fast because I want to, before I forget it, there is a connection with Mary in many different ways. So it might pop up throughout the way we talk about this. So once you do the research and you do the study, it's going to be hard for you to realize that Abrahamic religions, and especially Christianity, is anything other than a retelling of a ancient Kemetic story or ancient Kemetic understanding. The difference between religion and spirituality, when I think about it, is that religion is usually focused on the power structure and that you're under a certain power structure, and spirituality is about your personal freedom. So it comes down to being under a power structure and finding peace in that power structure, or strife, or whatever it is, and adhering to it so that you may find power, or breaking out of all that altogether to actually understand the truth beyond these structures and these stories so that you can find your own freedom. So as we talk about Auset today, realize that I'm coming from a place of freedom, not as in a place of, hey, everyone, why don't you guys all become Kemeticians and study and encase yourself in the religion of it all. So I want that to be clear. I'm not promoting a religion. I'm promoting knowledge and also your freedom in that process. Freedom from the sense of there's only one way to think of something, and freedom with that knowledge grants you, right? The more knowledge you have, the more you're free from certain ideas that might have been imprisoning beforehand. So, Kemetician. I don't know what the title is for those who are more in the religious aspect of it. But remember, religion is more about a power structure, and more so than anything. Okay, so with that being said, Auset is the oldest documentation of a birth, the story of a birth without a man. So that's the kind of initiation of the story of a virgin birth. Now, virgin, typically people like to think of it more as pure, not being touched by sex, and somehow then in people's minds, sex becomes dirty. I think it's really helpful to understand that if we're going to go back to the history of words and understand the etymology of words and so on and so forth, we have to understand that virgin did not necessarily associate with this idea of, what's it called, no sex. It means vir goes down to strength, right? Strength. Jin, G-Y-N, if you break down Jin, woman. So strong woman. So it's really the story of a strong woman. It's not about morality, pure, this idea of purity. It's not that you can't have fun sexual pleasure and all the wonderful things that we also experience as being women. This is about strong women. Vir, Jin, G-Y-N, Vir, strong woman. So I want us to understand that when we talk about that, because you're essentially talking about creating life from within your mind and from a thought, from an energy, and then bringing it forth, right? Without any other outside help. That takes strength. And so the way to describe that is essentially the virgin birth. So Mary is an example of that woman who did the virgin, the virgin birth as well. And you'll have that history over time, these stories of the virgin birth. But the virgin birth does not have to be connected to this idea of, no sex at all. And it's not even necessarily in the absence of a man. It's in the absence of needing their presence in order for you to create and bring forth life. Okay? Because with Mary, there was a man around, and we know that Osar is Auset's masculine counterpart. But the birth itself was created essentially without sex from that strong woman archetype, or that strong woman idea. All right. We also know that Auset is known to have 10,000 names. So what does that mean? Auset is very similar to, if you guys understand Hinduism and you understand Durga. So there's Durga, and then she has her expressions. And her expressions, if you read the Devi Mahatmyam, you'll know that her expressions are in Saraswati and Lakshmi, and then also in Saraswati, Lakshmi, Kali. I don't know why I keep on forgetting Kali, but every time I think about Kali, I'm trying to say the name. Guess what word comes up? Sekhmet, because we are in ancient Kemet right now, and we're not in India. All right, so with that being said, that is the same concept with Auset. So all the deities that or the Neteru, which are the gods, all those deities that they come from Isis or Auset, right? They are the expression of it. It's the greatest example of the song, I'm Every Woman. I'm every woman, it's all in me. That really is Auset. She can sing that song with full confidence. That is exactly what she is. So with that being said, understanding she is every woman and it is all in her, what are some of the deities that are associated with her expression? We have Newt, right? And Newt is also associated within the actual pantheon. You have Newt, you have Newt. Right? So, but you have Newt, who's associated with, and I had to remind myself because I had to write it down. Yes, has the body of a vulture, and will get pregnant by exposing herself to nature, right? So exposing herself to essentially the elements of masculinity, but not having to actually deal with the hoochie coochie part of it all. So that is Newt, a mother. She's known to be a great mother. Then you have Newt. And Newt you have probably seen before. If you ever seen the deity that kind of like arches over, and she's known as the queen of the heavens, or known as essentially being the actual firmament. And fun fact, my full name actually means firmament, or I'm named after the firmament. So Newt and Newt are the different ones, but Newt has that. If you ever seen the image of it, she hangs over, and she is essentially that firmament. Now, Isis and Auset are also connected to the Queen of Heaven in the Bible. So now, for those of you guys who were watching Easter, another name for Auset, Astaroth, for what's the other one that we have? Astaroth, Astarte. Those are other names for Auset. This is one of her 10,000 names. So when it comes down to it, when you realize in the Bible, who was the God of the Bible essentially trying to stop people from venerating, it was Auset. Okay? Hathor is another expression of Auset, Het-Heru. So Hathor is the Greek name. Het-Heru is the Kemetic name. And what does Het mean? Het means house. What does Heru mean? Horus, right? House of Horus. House of Horus is in reference to the womb, that space of creativity. So oftentimes, Het-Heru is associated with sexuality, love, creativity, nourishing. She's also associated with that that cow shape, and that especially the cow. And the cow is a symbol of nurturing. Now, some people will say no one's supposed to drink cow's milk, but there's a reason why people revered the cow. The cow has all those different udders, which means the multitude of udders is symbolic of being able to nourish more than just one or two entities, more than that, right? So she's associated with that. Now, when you think about pregnancy, there's other deities that actually go further with pregnancy. You have Taweret. There's another one here, Heket. Heket, which is also known with fertility, which is a frog-headed woman. You have quite a few, right? Fertility is a big deal. Then you also have, who else is another one? Two mothers here, two different kinds of mothers, Sekhmet, and then you also have, and you know, Hathor, of course, and then also what's my other one? I have it right here, Bastet. So Sekhmet is that lioness, that fiercely wild protector, right? That, you know, when I think about this, especially with non-melanated women, I've only heard this from them. I know that other women probably say it, but they'll say things like, oh, that mama bear is coming out. You know, this idea that they're being extra protective. Well, we see that in Sekhmet, that protective energy. And we see this a lot, especially with, you know, our mothers. I mean, come on. Our mothers are known, can be very wildly protective. I can have that strong Sekhmet energy when necessary for my friends, for my family. I can be very, very protective. I am that kind of person. And if you've wronged someone close to me, that's it. We aren't cool. They can forgive you. They can do all that. And I can even technically forgive you. But my stance will always be, until I see in a dramatic and a monumental shift, we ain't, no entry here. There, no pass, go. And that's that Sekhmet energy, that energy of protection, of being a warrior, of standing in front, that creative power, that fiery aspect of creative power. So you have Het Heru, House of Horus, right? That feminine energy that's all about that nourishing, the womb, essentially representative of the womb, and this beautiful place where you're pouring in all these things. But then you also have to have these other features that protect that creative energy, that show that spark. And that's where you have Sekhmet. And then you also have the side of the more domesticated aspect, and that's Bastet, right? And Bastet has that docile cat-like vibe. So you have two different mother vibes. The one that kind of nurtures, brings together, gives all the kisses and the loves and then all of that. And then you have the one that's like, hey, nothing's happening over here. That energy is replicated over and over again with all these different deities in different ways. Then you have important things like Ma'at. We know Ma'at, the idea of the underworld. And I think we talked about this maybe last week or so, where Ma'at came up in reference, in making a connection to Ma'at and Anubis, to two other deities. If you guys remember, put in the chat. We'll find out who's listening and who's not. But I forget the connection that we made, but that was there. So we also know that deities also like Auset or Oshun, right? Yemaya, Demeter, Hera, Durga, Inanna. These are all imperfect labels to describe something indescribable. So that's what we also go to this. Is Auset really her name? It's the name that we can say to each other. Sophia, thank you. These are the names that we can say to each other to describe the energy. But in truth, these don't really have names. And so there's this long history of that. You know, Egyptians thought it was very important to define the energy, which is why you have these different names. But with that being said, there are names that no one knows. And the idea that there are words and names that are kept secret under very deep secrecy, because if you knew that, then you would have control and power over that energy. So these words are pretty innocuous in that sense, that they are not words that give you control of the energy. Now, for those of you all who are shiny ashes, that means you've been rocking me for a while and you've done things like homework. And homework is essentially when we would do the work to do any kind of spiritual development. And so one of the homeworks that we did was actually dealing with names and finding your true name. And that's a name that you're supposed to keep secret. So that was a really great way that we did it. And for those of you all who did do that work, test that name. Test that name using our other homework assignment, which was speaking in tongues, and see if that name keeps on popping out when you find out your true name. But remember, that name is personal. It's not for public consumption. It's not for anyone to know. It's yours. And I would honor and treat it as such. If you have the name, you keep it as private. I have mine. It's very private. I love it. But it's been amazing, that journey. When I learned about that, that understanding that they are secret terms and terminologies, even with this information that we talk about so freely, but that's where the occult is. And so when you understand your own occult, what is hidden right in plain sight, this is a perfect example of that. Okay, as I go further here, we have a few different energies. You also have a Nut, which is guardian, womanhood, and a shield, and she has a shield and an axe, which means there's a guardian-like energy. So I'm just going to run down a few. You have Ma'at, you have Makaru, which is true of voice, which is also what she's over, right? Making sure that you're speaking the truth. You have Seshat, which has panther skins that she represents. A lot of animals, understanding nature. Remember, Isis, Auset is about that Mother Earth over all creation. So the more you're in harmony with nature, the more you're in harmony with the divine feminine. Gaia, Straight Panther is putting out all those feminine deities, which really comes down to essentially what Auset is, the 10,000 names of Auset. Then you have Net, divine intellect, setting harmonic patterns by weaving. So net is really interesting. We already think of the word net in general as a net. Think about the weaving and that process that women have done for a long time. But now when you think about it as a human being and how we're created, and even if we look at our skin and we look at the different lines and the hatching that happens, there's a weaving that happens in the way that we're even created, right? From the nerves in our body and the way that they all intertwine. So this is what net is over, that divine weaving that binds us, that creates the nerve and the movement and the shock and the shift and how we actually move. That's divine intellect. So then we also have, I think I said Newt, which is the firmament, right? The heavy, that's over the heavenly sky, and they're very heavy into the zodiac and also numerology as well. So I mean, it makes sense that especially us, we get so into numerology and the zodiac, because this is essentially, they are the people, the ancient Kemetic, ancient Kemetic people are the people who essentially set the foundation for how we function, right? The way we think about numbers, the way we think about computers, we know that for programming language is usually 0 or 1. Well, 0 or 1 are the same numbers and same energy that essentially is attributed to the Big Bang or the creation of things, right? Then we have the 2 and the 3, 2 meaning Auset, 3 meaning Asar, and then we kind of grow from there. The number 5 is a very important number because that's how people count. That's how ancient Kemetic people counted. And so if you think about the 5, well, how do we tell time, right? It's all in 5s, right? Everything's in 5s. So we have a whole system that's created based off of this ancient knowledge and history. And then people were like, well, how do they build the pyramids? Well, everything we live off is functioning off of this grand intelligence that was all derived from understanding the cosmos. And then we ask stupid questions like how they build the pyramids. They were just smarter. Intelligence, net, divine intellect, right? Understanding harmonic patterns and setting harmonic patterns. And we also hear this in music. These are the creation of music and dance and understanding the different frequencies. I mean, how many times have you gone on YouTube and you've seen people say, Freya, you've seen people say, I am attuning this to 432, the divine heart, what's it called, frequency for love, that comes from ancient Kemetic knowledge. And so we think about net for a lot of that knowledge and information. Then, like I said, we have Nephthys, the twin sister, the protector, the lover, the loving. Oh, we have Mami Wata. Then we have Sapphos, a woman with antelope horns, the lady of the beginning. So these energies are all in these crucial spots. Now a lot of them do have, of course, a male counterpart to their energy. And so I want to know that you guys want you to remember that. You can find out what that is. You can look it up yourself. We're talking about the divine feminine today. All right. Then we have Sekhmet. We talked about that. Bas Kadesh, holy ordained, right? Associated with Heteru or Hathor, but I will tell you her divine counterpart, of course, is Ptah. Then you have Heket, fertility. Then you have Serket, scorpion energy. If you ever seen a scorpion head associated with Kemetic history, you have protection and nurturing of young children and intestines. Some of these deities, all essentially, some of them are associated with the 7 deities. The word Selene, if you all know about the Selenes, that also goes down to Isis, Auset as well, another expression of her. So throughout history and throughout almost most of our divine understandings of things, Auset has essentially was the first that was put out. And then when we look at the way our knowledge was then put out through that religious structure, right? The religious structure essentially sought very hard to get rid of that presence, which is kind of wild, right? And that's why we talked about on Easter. So Easter was kind of foreshadowing where we are now. And in Easter, we talked about essentially the deity of the Bible, which was redefined as masculine, essentially no longer wanted people to burn incense and give offerings to Auset. Now, Auset, saying all this, what are her characteristics? The mother, great mother, divine mother, mother of the gods, but a healer, right? A healer. The one that you go to when you need anything. She is, it's asked and it is truly given. She is the great giver, right? She is the cosmic nourisher, if you will. And so to be disconnected from such energy like that, can you imagine? What have we been doing? To lose that sense of understanding. There's something else that I wanted to say here, understanding Horus. Horus, which was also Heru, which we see recreated in the story of Jesus, is a symbolism of that nourishment from the matrix, from the womb, right? So essentially, she is creating, she created this entity, and now to share and to be birthed from, and is actually the manifestation and the symbol of that manifestation of love, nourishment, bliss, healing, all those things. And so that's why the story of Jesus could be easy to tell, because we already had the story of Heru, right? And that's really where it comes from. Then we have the Venus. Venus is a wonderful story where we understand Venus is the deity really of companionship and linking. All right. So, oh, this was exciting. With that being said, 37, something about that's divine. With that being said, I want to kind of talk about that connection that I said that we see with Mary. Now, some of you all, especially if you come from a Catholic background in any way, shape, or form, you've seen it before. You've seen the pictures of Mary crying with that red or blood in their eyes. And where does that come from? Like, where does that story come from? So we know that with Auset, there's a story where essentially Seth, who was over the realms, killed Asar or Osiris. In killing him, she essentially prayed for him to come back to life, right? He separated him, and it was said that he chopped him up into pieces and spread him all around. And so Auset Asar had to come back to life. And so Auset, in her grief, she cried and cried and cried. Those tears that she cried was essentially her bringing together and bringing forth Asar. So every tear that she's crying is she's bringing up. But what is these tears that are essentially being translated, think about it almost as rain, to nourish and bring back forth the Nile. And the Nile is representative of Asar, the water. Where did that come from? So you had a period of time where you have a very dry period in Kemet, right? Where the dirt is red, and it's a very red, arid, dusty time. Horrible weather, because that means you're not having your fruits and your lives in the nourishing foods that are coming forth from the land, right? So without Asar, that was the representation of it. So she cried and cried to essentially bring him forth. Well, that mixture of the water and the redness of the dirt creates that red color and the tears that represent represent Auset's tears. So Mary's tears are representative of the grief, right, that she had from the loss of Jesus, and Auset's tears are from the grief that she had from the loss of Osiris. And remember, Jesus lives, so does Asar, because her grief and her tears bring him back, right? And so as she brings and resurrects, you know, Asar, and that resurrection, that is the symbol of it. So she cries and cries for 50 days, and for 50 days solely, she literally brings forth and brings him back into life. That's a great example of what, once again, what it means to be a virgin or a strong woman, right? Not having anything to do with this idea of morality or purity, but actually pure in your heart, pure in your desire, and pure in your way to manifest. And that strength essentially brings forth that energy. And so then Asar came forth. So then that is the symbol of the Nile River coming down and now raining and bringing the flood, right? And then bringing forth the crop. She's also queen of the marshes, because when Heru was born, they wanted to kill him, right? Because of this great symbol of what he is. And so she hid in the marshes during that time to protect Heru. That's a similar story to what Mary did too, right? When Jesus was born, he needed to be hid and protected. So Mary hid, and so did Auset. But we should say Auset did it first. And then, of course, the story was then rechanged and fabricated to work for a new power structure and storyline. So as we think about all of that, we think about what that story is and how we see the evolution, and we honor, how do we tap into that energy, first off? How do we revere that energy? I think that you realize that it's so easy to tap into the energy at this point, right? Because the energy is everywhere and pervasive. Straight Panther, while we were doing this, was throwing out all these deities' names, all the female deities, the divine feminine. And I think that if you all pay attention and go into the chat, you'll have that, and you'll have that information. And I like this. Kayla says, the divine feminine is the source of life itself and the catalyst for life beyond death. Yes, remember, the queen of the underworld, queen of the heavens. It's really look no further than yourself, right? You have all the knowledge. You have all the equipment. It's time to honor and revere. You know, my old video resurfaced thanks to Ash&Ether, and who we will affectionately call Lala over there, making wonderful things happen. We can associate her with the divine harmonic deity that we can, which one was I thinking about today? Net. We're thinking about divine intellect and setting harmonic patterns by weaving and all of that. And so, and then also Seshat, we'll give her that energy right now, which is the lady of writing and archives. And so that energy is alive and well, because we find different ways to live it and be in it and express it. So with that, we were essentially creating all this, and I realized that she put the video out for I'll Open My Legs to that, but retitled it. And I was laughing with her. I said, well, if you say open your legs to it, there's going to be a whole new party that will come through, because that's essentially how that video blew up. And it's essentially where a lot of my male viewers who are still here right now, that's really they came from that particular video. But I don't judge you for it, just so you all know. That was the intention. I was literally bringing forth that energy. I wanted that balance of energy. I don't think anything of it. That's what you were supposed to do. You did what you were supposed to do. I said, come, you came. Hey. So with that being said, and I know it because I know where everyone came from. Like, I kind of historically, I'm like, I know when certain people popped up in the service. But the great thing about that is that you're talking about people who have been around for a long time, for years, and connected to this work that I've been doing, and also being aligned to the greater purpose. So I'm very excited and just want to say that. But that video did come out. So if you want to tap in further to feminine energy and understanding and how you activate it within yourself, look at that video. It's on Ash&Ether. Shout out to all the men. It's on Ash&Ether, who are in support of the divine feminine. And then if you want to go deeper as far as tapping in, there's so many videos that I've done, but just look out for them. And then, like I said, we have the meditation videos going to be coming next Friday as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We have a lot of good work ahead of us and that we're seeking to create and really work to acknowledge the divine feminine, the great mothers and great mother-like energy in our life. And yeah, because there's a whole lot of other stuff going on out there. And if we can take our time to actually build up and nourish the divine feminine in our lives, instead of doing anything other than, I think that we will see a shift in who we are and see a shift in our community, whatever our communities are, how culturally diverse those are, and a shift in how we act and interact with each other. This energy today, to read all of it, was amazing because this energy is all about love. It's about kindness. It's about healing. It's about nurturing. It's the sweetness of life. It's your honeys. It's your milk and honey. It's your, I mean, it's everything beautiful about who we are. And I think that we can't forget that that's the power of the mother. And so if you have a wonderful mother in your life, make sure you give them a hug today. If you have a wonderful mother figures in your life, make sure you acknowledge them. Maybe you let them know. And then if you have, if you are expecting mother, nourish yourself today as well. And then just look out and support all those people who carry that divine energy, and divine feminine. And that, like I've said today, it can be seen in men as well. And it's not some kind of, you have to be, I don't know, gay or trans or anything other than whoever you are to tap into that divine feminine, no matter where you are at, and you're in the spectrum of life. It's all there. It's for all of us because it is the creative energy of us all, right? It is just the mother, you know, it's there. It's from the beginning. And so there's another video that I did, and it was like, you know, Kiki, do you believe in God? Look up that video because this actually digs deeper. If you want to have a deeper understanding of the names and why we name everything, and go deeper into it, and with the benefit of not naming things, I encourage you to look at that as well. If you haven't seen it, and if you have seen it, good for you. But if you haven't, Kiki, do you believe in God? Is a really wonderful video to help shift your mindset and understand why we define things and what could be the benefit of not defining it or allowing for a certain level of occultness in our life, and what power that can have. All right. Moment of skepticism with everything that's been said. Is Tyler Perry channeling Medea? If so, is she a deity? Now, with everything that's been said here, with everything that's been said, the moment of skepticism, is Tyler Perry channeling Medea, and is she a deity? Well, golly darn. Golly darn. Moment of skepticism. Is Tyler Perry channeling Medea, or is she a deity? Cypher is added, or is Medea channeling Tyler Perry? I think we're going to go with Tyler Perry is channeling Medea. I think that Tyler Perry did create Medea, but Medea is a deity. Because this is something that we have to understand. There's a reason why these other deities exist. These are us defining things. It's our attempt to define energy. It's our attempt to define and understand our experience. Because truthfully, if you peel it all back, there are no names, right? But to understand the energy, we have to try to define it. So Medea is an amalgamation, as he said, of different women in his life. But if it's the amalgamation of different women in his life, then she is also an amalgamation of divine feminine energy. And in all of that, if we go to I am every woman, it's all in me, she is an aspect of that divine. She is one of the 10,000 names of Auset. She is that. So I say Medea is a deity. I think that if you wanted to work with that energy, you probably could. I dare you all. See what happens. Put a Tyler Perry, Medea is a deity. Yes, and that is a, yes. Put a Tyler Perry, put an image of her, put it on an altar and see what happens. See what happens. But it's real energy. It's been nurtured, it's been created, it's been deified through the process of even media and television, constantly building it up, constantly saying it. We said her name several times at this point. It is also a name that is historical amongst Black culture. And so she is associated with magic like Isis. Oh yes, and Isis or Auset is also known as the creator of magic, the place that you go to for magic. So if you wanted to tap into magic, and I forgot to say that, but it's all right here, you go there. So that is my moment of skepticism. Kayla says it's a no for me. She said that's a no for me, though. Crack it up. I'm just saying. I guess she's not going to be putting Medea on her altar, but I'm saying I want to know who's wild enough to do it, and then tell me what the results are. All right. To say Isis equals Hecate, I will say no. Hecate derives from Auset. I think that I prefer thinking like that. They all derive from Auset at that point, right? All right. So I think it's important to think about it like that. It's a feminine principle. All right, mother creation, queen of heaven, queen of the firmament, queen of the underworld. All right, so throw me a question out here before I go. We got a few more minutes, and thank you all for watching. Thumbs up if you have enjoyed this. And that was our moment of skepticism, which was nice. And now we're going to do a question. But I haven't got a question yet. So the moment I get a question, I will do it. The deck is ready to go. It says all I have to do is cut it. Oh, here we go. My girlfriend wanted to know if you're talking about Medea the witch. No, Tyler Perry, but we all know it's connected. We're talking about Tyler Perry's character that he's been playing for all this time, that essentially he has written and brought to life and added energy and deified in his own way several times, 1,000 times. At this point, probably. That one. All right. I don't have a question yet, but I think most of us know media. Most of us know the other. This isn't a new name, but the way it lives is very interesting in Tyler Perry. So the first question that pops up is the question I'm going to answer. I don't see one. And so if I don't see one in the next few seconds, we're just going to do the energy for the week and move from there. Now my deck is ready. The first card I can choose. So this is going to be, I don't have anything, so here we go. This is the energy for the week. Oh, wait. How can we connect to goddess energy for this week? All right. Hey, Mangitas, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, we're good. Cypher's like, questions, people. No, people, we're great here. You guys are fantastic. You're fantastic. All right. So this is the how. How can we connect? I'm just gonna pull the first card. Oh shoot. Who was that? Who asked that fantastic question? Kayla, that was you? How can we connect to? We're not gonna do any more. This is it. This is perfect. Make a big pot and stir it up. It's time to do some magic, y'all. That's what it says. How can we connect to goddess energy this week? Make a big pot and stir it up. It's time to do some work. If this hasn't inspired you to do work, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. You need to do something. Make a big pot and stir it up. So that typically means it is time for you to put all your fun, magical stuff together and do some kind of magical work. That's what that means. So ritual time. Create a ritual. I have I have videos right now on Ash&Ether that will give you quick hints on how to create a ritual and give you a lot of great information there. So check it out if you do need to, if you're wondering, okay, well, what do I do? How do I do it? How do I gather my things? How do I gather my ingredients? It is time to create a ritual. Honor the divine feminine. Put that energy out there. Bring her up, bring her up, bring her up. Express it through who you are. Live it, be it, but make a big pot and stir it up. So that means it is time to get to work, right? Get to work. That is so beautiful. And that's so divine feminine. All right. Thank you so much. That's how you're going to tap into God's energy this week. I'm going to go hallelujah, holla magic, Io, and Vunia. And this was a great, great time. I hope you guys enjoy this and that you are more knowledgeable than you were before. I know I gained a lot just from doing the research and just digging deeper and making those connections, those deeper connections that I think that we don't always make. All right. Have a good time. Have a beautiful time. And I will see you next video. Bye.